All right. Hey, friends. Welcome back to another Together What If. I am so excited to be sitting down with Pastor Jamie Prickett and Michelle Alexander and me, Jenny Highsmith, as we dive deep into something that I think is at the core of all of humanity. It's this desire to live the good life, to be content, to be quote unquote rich, whatever that means, not just financially, but just in life. To have a life that you are content with, that is a good life for whatever that means for you. And so for the next couple of weeks, we're going to kind of dive deeper into this idea of contentment and living a good life on Sunday mornings here at Gainesville First United Methodist Church, where our sermon series is on this idea of being rich. And so today, I would like to take some time to just dive deep into this idea of contentment and richness, living the good life. And let's just start with the basic question of, what does it mean to be rich?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's always out there.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem to matter how much you have, how much you make. If you ask people, they'll say it's the people ahead of them socioeconomically on the earning scale. What do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, we want to come to a place where we say we want to get to a place whenever we get to a place where say I have enough, then I'll be rich. That's kind of the mentality we have, right? When I can get to a place in my life where I say I have enough, but the reality is we never get to that place because we never, I was reading something that, the average 2-car garage with an overhead apartment is the size of a typical 1940s home.
Yeah.
And just a garage, right? So but now we trying to, okay, what would be enough? When I look at, my family with 2 kids, what would be enough?
Yeah, and you have entire professions that are built around helping people figure out what is enough. Like, you can retire if you do this, and you have enough in the bank if you can, and you can provide for your health care and all this kind of stuff. And then you have entire groups in our culture who that is not their paradigm, because enough for them is getting through one day, and they are one step away from, abject poverty,
Sure.
one broken car, or so to speak, or one healthcare crisis away from homelessness. And so the scale in America is and I guess across the world is a bit ridiculous.
And I think we really have to pay attention to that, because my understanding of what might be rich for me, that thing that I just want to get to, that next line in the sand, that's someone's, like, where I'm at right now, that is someone's dream. They couldn't
exactly
even
right.
imagine being where I am. And so there's a level of humility, a level of self-awareness and appreciation and contentment with recognizing where you are in that richness level is really important, I think.
Yeah, and I wonder too, when it comes to finances, it seems like there are people who feel that burden just in their personality and the way that they process life more than others. There's these happy-go-lucky people who just like, oh, it's going to come, and I don't stress about it too much. And then you've got people who just, they carry that weight so heavy on them. It's like, I always like tease Mark and I say, you always act like we're one paycheck from being in a van down by the river. And he's like, yeah, and it's a good thing because you don't, and but I grew up in a tradition where my dad was a tither. Like, we talked about last week, I grew up in church. And so right straight from the get, it was like money went to the church. When that offering plate went by, he was proud to put his check in that offering plate, where I think he'd leave it open even. It's just, like in the Methodist church, we put it in the little envelopes, or they used to do that the passing the plate tradition, which I did some study on that, is like my dad would put it in but we didn't have a lot, but we had enough. Like, so, yeah, I guess I'm just saying I have empathy for that dynamic of some people. It's just like money is a really big fear factor for them.
Yeah, so I think part of it is we have to change our conversation around money. and we start by saying, yes, it's valuable. We need it. We got to have it to survive. So I think we lay that on the table. I mean, we're not saying,
and there's
that,
disparity in it,
and there's
too.
disparity in it, of course. So I think that reality, but I think we need to redefine what we mean by the word rich.
Okay.
And what does it mean? So, because the reality is, no one dies a millionaire. You're just dead. You know.
I know. I distinctly remember this moment. Sorry, getting a little morbid. I distinctly remember a moment as a kid where I was like, I'm going to take this teddy bear with me to my grave, and I'm going to take this doll with me to my grave. Like, I thought that was like something that you did. And then my parents had to be like, yeah, no, that's not how that happens. And it's like, well, then why do I have all these things anyways?
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great point.
You don't die with all the things that you
usually
take.
just leave it for your kids to fight over it, and it's inevitable that they will.
Yeah. And so the point is, you know, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's not necessarily Christian, it's more Stoic reality, but you know, the fact is 2 to 3 generations out, no one's even going to mention my name, your name. When we're gone 2 or 3 generations away from when we die, our names are not even going to be on anybody's lips, right?
Somebody else is living in your house.
Yeah, and so I think
Humbling.
it very humbling. So I think it means that I have to rethink now what I'm going to call riches, because it's got to be, if I'm going to be rich in something, I want it to be something that's going to outlive me.
Well, and our Lord knew that, and he says that in the Bible. And we just sort of read this and we don't internalize it where moth and rust break in. But I mean, if you ever have a beautiful sweater and you've put it in a drawer and you pull it out and you're like, I can't even wear this. It's got holes in it. And so stuff gets old and it breaks. So we have to pry our hands off of what it looks like to be rich, and God has a lot to say about it, right?
Yeah. So I think it starts with the reality of living a life of contentment. Of it's not, you know, it's, you know, 1 Timothy, I think it was 1 Timothy who said, and Paul says in the letter 1 Timothy, you know, people who long to be rich will fall into temptation or trapped by many foolish and harmful desires that plunge them into ruin and destruction. This is a contemporary translation. It is the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. It's not money itself. It's when the heart is attached. So I think we need to have a conversation around attachment. Like, what do we attach ourselves, the stuff that we attach ourselves to? Because that's the challenge we have. You know, if Jesus was to knock on your door today, this evening at your house, and he says, Jenny, I've got this amazing, out of this world adventure that I'm calling you to. You know, how many of us would say, well, I can't go because I'm attached to this, you know, or I'm attached to that. So our attachments keep us weighed down, even from the life that Jesus says, I promise to come give you in the full. And so does that make sense? I mean, I think that's the challenge that we have, is what we have attached ourselves to.
And I wonder, too, as you're talking about that, you know, generationally, like, you know, I got a couple of 20-year-olds still on my payroll, and that they're in the acquiring phase, you know, and so money right now is like, it goes, and they're attached because they don't have any. And they don't even know yet if they're going to be able to make it. And then you go into your 30s and you've got these young kids and you're trying to build this life. And I wonder if the attachment there is, I want to look more prosperous than I even am.
Yeah, as a 20-something, it's been very difficult for me just in this world and this conversation about attachment and richness, because you have on Instagram this one line in the sand that you want to get to, because you're seeing on Instagram people my age have these houses, they're influencers, they're decorating their houses this way, that way, they live in this kind of apartment, they have this kind of job. And so you're like, man, they're my age and they can have that.
Exactly.
Or, you know, you'll hear the more seasoned adults in my life say something along the lines of like, well, when I was your age, I was married with 3 kids living in a house that was, you know, 3,000 square feet, what, you know, like just something ridiculous.
So all of a sudden there's this giant gap in where you were content, like you felt like I'm good.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm not so good.
And financially, realistically, that line has changed because of inflation. I mean, just because of all sorts of things. So even just financially, me as a single 20-something, being able to achieve that kind of financial freedom or financial success that other people might have achieved decades earlier, maybe even just a decade earlier, that's not the same possibility as me. Like, I don't have that same possibility or opportunity now just because of the state of the world.
An external.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
And so realizing that those attachments is just so important, because I think that we're, especially my generation, like you said, Michelle, when you see money, it's like, wah, wah. God, this is great, because now I'm finally getting closer to that line in the sand that everyone else says that I need to be getting to. And the reality is, like, we're never going to be able to make that line in the sand right now just because of external things. And so letting go of those attachments has been very important and so hard at the same time.
Yeah, and you like work on your spiritual life and your relationship with God, and you're in a sacrificial field of working in the church. It's not like you're going to be a gazillionaire doing that. So I would just say, Jamie, what's your advice to people on money and attachment? And I mean, how do we grow there?
I think we view money as a tool, and so what are we wanting to do with this tool and this resource that God has entrusted to us? So it means I've got to look at myself as a steward. I've been entrusted. As a Christian, we feel like we've been, yes, we work hard and we do the right things, and we position ourselves financially in certain places, and we're wise in all that. But at the end of the day, we believe that God owns it all, and so God has entrusted these resources to me. So how do I, in turn, share those resources with others? And I think that's part of the challenge, is getting people to change that mindset, is helping.
Of ownership.
Yes.
And stewardship.
Yeah.
I really
What
like that.
What does the word stewardship mean? Because that's what, like in person worship, we call our generosity and campaign, and as we prepare to teach on giving at the church. I mean, what do you mean exactly when you say stewardship? Because I think it's kind of a churchy word.
Well, it's a simple word in the sense that it's what I am. I've been called and asked to utilize and to resource things that I have been entrusted with. And it doesn't always have to be money. It could be time. Like, if I have a certain amount of time. We all have the same amount of time every single day.
Me and Beyonce, we all get 24 hours.
Yeah, we get it, right? And so if that's then how are we using that? And so another way of saying it is that how are we being stewards of that?
So it's the management of it,
Correct.
The wise management of money, the wise use of it, and it needs to be used for a good purpose. So just like we waste time, sometimes we can waste money. And
I will say, just as a side note, I've been thinking a lot about this. Money, if I waste money tomorrow, if I'm wise the next day, I can hopefully make some of that up if I was stupid with it, right? That hopefully I can. But with time's the one thing that we don't get back. And so that I think more than anything, we need to pay attention. And this is not a topic about time, but I think we do need to really pay attention to how we spend our time.
How we spend our time is important because time is money. But no, I mean I'm making a joke. But the thing is that when it comes to money, there's always a higher purpose if you look for it, and so I even said this to Mark when we were traveling this weekend down to Atlanta. We live in Gainesville, and you go into Atlanta, and as soon as you get into sort of like the Buckhead area, all the billboards are designed to create discontent. It's this beautiful watch, or it's this aesthetics for your face, or this, this is how you can look better, be better. And I'm like, what's the whole purpose behind that? And I think, and this is kind of ugh, but I think it's to create envy in other people. And I mean, like, that is isn't there a commandment about that? I mean, like, what we want our money to actually do?
Yeah.
Because if we want to be rich in the kingdom, it's rich in caring for people. It's rich in seeing the world and closing disparity and creating a place where God's love is transparent and where we can share Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But that $3,000 bag looks really good in the magazine kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like, what's wisdom there? And how do we change our inner driver? Right? That's the work of God. We have to put that in front of God. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think too is just learning how, and we can talk about this on our next episode, but just learning how to be content with what we have, to really say, I do have enough. I've got a roof over my head. I got food on my table. I got people that love me, and in a community that supports me. I'm good. Mm-hmm. I really am. And I think we have to get to a place with that contentment, and to say, I really do have enough. And it's a hard place, especially when you're seeing those billboards that create discontentment in us. But I think if we have that attitude going into that and saying, that's good, and if I have some spare, I might take advantage of that. But right now, I know that I'm good.
I think that's probably a pretty good place for us to end on today, because you've just inspired me for a couple of different things that we can talk about next week.
But I think just together, if we could live in such a way where we were content,
and we encouraged each other to be content,
and we encouraged each other to be content, and that we were, I think that would lead to a more rich life as a whole. Maybe not financially, but there is something that is life-giving when you are able to be content and give life to the people around you because you are content.
Yeah.
And so, friends, together, what if?
Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, we live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart those around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, in you alone. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me.